This national news edition originates from VK1WIA and is rebroadcast throughout Australia and around the world under a common licence published on the WIA website. This WIA national news service is copyright to the Wireless Institute of Australia, and rebroadcast is authorised only under the provisions of that common licence.
WIA Director and Company Secretary Peter Cleave, VK8ZZ.
From Australia, this is the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
In WIA National News this week, VK2LP Pete Cherry, WIA Returning Officer, VK3GK Lee Moyle, WIA Board Candidate, VK2AYL Michelle from the Australian Ladies Amateur Radio Association, VK5DJ John with Newsbury, this year's Australian Fox Hunting Championship. But wait, there's much more in this edition of news from the Wireless Institute of Australia, and it's for week commencing Sunday, February 8, 2026. I'm Editor Graham, VK4BB, and it's a welcome to all our new listeners on 107.1 FM Tiara Community Radio in the Wide Bay Burnett region of VK4.
This news originates from the Wireless Institute of Australia. Dreaming, believing, achieving.
The election for director of the WIA has been open for 1 week now. Already we have 22% of the eligible voters cast their vote in the election. An email with a link to the electronic vote was sent to all members who have a valid email address in MemNet. 32 emails were unable to be delivered. If you did not receive an email, please contact the returning officer via the email returningofficer@nationaloffice.wia.org.au. Halfway through the election, a reminder email with the link will be sent to those who have not yet voted. Good luck to the candidates, who are Chris Dmitrijevic, VK3FY, Klaus Ilhart, VK3IU, Lee Moyle, VK3GK, and Justin Giles Clark, VK7TW. The election will close on 28 February 2026, and the results will be communicated after the close in accordance with the WIA election regulations. This announcement has been spoken and authorized by Pete Cherry, VK2LP, the returning officer of the Wireless Institute of Australia.
On the education scene, and remember the web address for education and the WIA is education.wia.org.au. New comedy podcast tackles ham radio's gatekeeping problem with humour and education. Guy and Gus launch innovative series as survey data reveals 73% of new operators feel intimidated by online ham radio communities. As amateur radio experiences a post-pandemic surge in new licensees, particularly in the USA, a troubling trend has emerged. Online communities have become battlegrounds where real radio debates and equipment tribalisation drive newcomers away from the hobby, a hobby designed around experimentation and connection. Ham Radio Gizmos is tackling this challenge head-on with an innovative solution, a comedy podcast that makes learning fun again. The show centres on twin brothers, Gus and Guy Wire, whose constant disagreements mirror the hobby's most heated debates. Guy champions modern software-defined radios, digital modes and computer integration. Gus lives for vintage tube equipment, heavy iron and radios that glow before they transmit. Their sibling rivalry becomes the vehicle for education, proving both approaches have merit while reminding listeners that ham radio is big enough for everyone. Somewhere between firmware updates and heated forum arguments, we forgot that this hobby is supposed to be enjoyable, says Lee Love, N2LEE, creator of Ham Radio Gizmos. Guy and Gus exist to prove we can laugh at ourselves whilst learning, and that real radio is whatever rocks your boat.
This is Lee Moyle, VK3GK. Many may be aware that I have re-nominated for the WIA board for another term, and if re-elected, will continue working on various projects to benefit members. I have been involved with the radio communications sector for over 46 years, first licensed in 1980 and managing director of a successful label company for the last 30 years. Firstly, as an assessor for over 20 years, 13 years with the WIA, then AMC, and now with ACMA, my passion, as always, is to be actively bringing new people in to build the numbers into amateur radio. And we all know we all need to do a lot more work in this area. With the Radio and Electronics School and WIA in collaboration, it now gives great opportunity to integrate with the WIA education groups to streamline and deliver easily accessible training and assessment materials to new candidates. As a current WIA director, I am immensely proud in what the board has been able to achieve with RES. Secondly is to continue and enhance the successful working relationships between the WIA and ACMA. Engagement is key in having our voices heard to improve qualification standards, potentially new frequency allocations and higher power privileges to amateurs by utilising surveys and factual evidence-based submissions. ACMA respect the WIA's professionalism and technical skill set offered. Next is to increase membership by value-adding through vendor-sponsored programs for members and monetary grants for affiliated clubs. Also by utilising the communications aspects within the membership database to deliver relevant, up-to-date news and information to the membership. Fiscal stewardship is of utmost importance, and the last several years have shown the WIA to be transparent and operating financially buoyant and responsible to the members. This ensures a solid and robust WIA for many years to come. The WIA continues to reinvest financially back into the amateur radio community. I look forward to continue supporting the WIA and its members for another successful 2-year term on the WIA board if re-elected. Please consider supporting me so I can continue to serve you, the WIA member. I'm contactable via email or mobile. 73 Lemoyle, VK3GK.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
Hello. First up, Region 1 of the International Amateur Radio Union, IARU, has issued a clarification following reports of the prosecution of amateur radio operators in Belarus. In the statement, Region 1 stresses that amateur radio is a technical, educational and service-oriented hobby defined internationally, and emphasises that while individuals involved hold amateur licences, the actions leading to their prosecution fall entirely outside the scope of the amateur radio service. The clarification notes that an amateur radio licence does not grant immunity from national laws and does not authorise use of equipment for activities that contravene the legal framework of a sovereign state. Adding, we believe the public narrative surrounding this case has been somewhat misplaced. Region 1 further states that it does not condone or support any actions by licensed operators that bypass legal requirements or violate the terms of their amateur licence, and that the situation is a matter for the relevant judicial systems. Speaking of Region 1, the 27th IARU Region 1 General Conference will take place in Vienna, Austria from the 19th to the 23rd of September 2026. This is a major gathering for amateur radio in Region 1, bringing together member societies from across Europe, Africa, the Middle East and Northern Asia. It's where the IARU specialist committees meet to agree regional policy and priorities, including matters like spectrum, band planning and operating standards. The IARU, the International Amateur Radio Union, represents the interests of the amateur radio service worldwide, including at the International Telecommunication Union, and works to protect and enhance our spectrum privileges. The creator and maintainer of Ham Clock, Elwood Downey, Whiskey Bravo Zero Oscar Echo Whiskey, has become silent key as of January 29, 2026. As a result, the original Ham Clock project will no longer receive updates. Following that announcement, a group of ham radio operators have stepped up to keep Ham Clock operating beyond its scheduled sunset in June. An open-source replacement for the back-end processors required to keep the popular Ham Clock project alive is well underway. Developed by Brian, Kilo Oscar 4, Alpha Quebec Foxtrot, and Austin, Kilo November 4 Lima November Bravo, Open Ham Clock Backend is designed to be a drop-in replacement for the backend server that populates Ham Clock with its signature set of 40-plus data points and visualizations. Ham Clock is a popular cross-platform application that visualizes a range of customizable data helpful to ham radio operators. The final original release of Ham Clock is version 4.22. ARRL will host the 9th annual Ham Science Citizen Investigation HamSci workshop on March 14 and 15, 2026, with primary activities at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, and additional events at ARRL headquarters in Newington. This international workshop brings together radio amateurs, scientists, educators and students to explore how amateur radio as a practical tool for scientific research and citizen science. Organised by the HamSci community, the 2026 workshop carries the theme Discovering Science Through Ham Radio. Presentations and discussions will highlight real-world research enabled by amateur radio, including ionospheric and space weather studies, meteor scatter propagation, radio-based sensing technologies, and the growing use of personal space weather stations. The program emphasises how these efforts not only advance scientific understanding, but also directly inform and improve amateur radio operating and technology. The RSGB 2026 band plans were published in the recently released February 2026 edition of RADCOM and are now also available at rsgb.org/bandplans. This year's changes in the United Kingdom address a handful of key topics, including updates to the 5 MHz band plan to emphasise correct operating, which comes in light of out-of-band FT8 usage and Ofcom monitoring concerns. Updates at 50 MHz have been made to accommodate new repeater inputs, which use a wider 1 MHz split, easing the implementation of their duplex filters. In the 430 MHz UHF band, provision for low-power ad hoc repeaters and some editorial updates have also been made. The Federal Communication Commission's filing systems and databases remain online, and the agency is continuing usual operations despite a partial shutdown of the federal government. The FCC says it will keep the lights on until further notice, as Washington expects the shutdown to come to an end as soon as Tuesday, when the House votes on spending bills approved last week in the Senate. The Commission's public-facing filing systems and databases will remain available, and normal filing deadlines under the Commission's rules will apply, the FCC said in a public notice. FCC Chair Brendan Carr last week told reporters that preparing for shutdowns has become fairly routine and contingency plans are ready to go. And if they're forced to cease operations, it will look a lot like what occurred in the fall. My hope and expectation is that it does not get there, he said. During the earlier 43-day government shutdown, the licence management system, which is used for many radio filings, was offline. It also forced the FCC to push back the due dates of several filing deadlines, including quarterly issue filings, among others. The House is expected to vote on the legislation in days, with most federal workers remaining on the job, with the expectation that this disruption this time will be short-term. In the USA and starting up a radio station, would you like your station call letters to be WKRP? That famous call sign currently is held by a low-power FM station in North Carolina, and while the station isn't planning to give it up, it would be willing to share if the price is right. The licensee issued this announcement. Oak City Media, a non-profit organisation that's operated a real WKRP for over a decade, is announcing a process by which certain other broadcast stations can share this nostalgic call sign in accordance with FCC regulations. For 5 years, WKRP in Cincinnati was the fictional, often dysfunctional setting behind one of the most popular situation comedies in the United States and here in Australia. For WIA National News in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1WIA. Now, operational news with VK4FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Now, Contest-wise 2026. This weekend, February 7 and 8, sees the running of several contests, including 1010 Winter International Winter Contest, SSB, Phone, LABRE RS Digi Contest, Mexico Briti International Contest. Then February 21 and 22 ARRL DXCW. March Jock White Memorial Field Day, February 28 Saturday and Sunday March 1. March 7 and 8 ARRL DXSSB. March 15 BERU. March 21 and 22 John Moore Memorial Field Day. May Harry Angel Memorial Sprint, May 2nd. Now let's open the DX window to the world. If you're keeping your ears tuned for the start of the 3Y0K DX expedition to Bibby Island, the thing you're going to need more than good propagation, sufficient power, a good antenna, and of course, good timing is patience. The team's plans have been delayed by about 2 weeks according to the website. Their sailing vessel underwent additional maintenance to secure it for the journey to the remote island. After its necessary maintenance, on February 2, at 18:30 hours Zulu, the Argus left its mooring in Las Palmas, EA8, en route to Cape Town. For those interested, we can track, in real time, the ship, the Argus, on the link in this week's WIA National News Service. The Dolomites Radio Club will be on the air from Milano Cortina for the duration of the Winter Olympics, using the special call sign II3 OLYM until the 15th of March. They will be active on all HF, VHF and UHF bands. Confirmation of contacts will be sent via EQSL. From Belize, listen for Walt, using the call sign V31DJ, operating CW and SSB. His wife, Mary, will be using the call sign V31DK, operating FT8 and FT4. They are on the air till the 27th of February. Soda Croatia is marking 10 years. Listen for the special call sign 9A10 Soda. The call sign is on the air to the 30th of September 2026. Namibia, Gunta, once again active as V51WH until the 24th of March, with activity from a farm near Omaora'u. From 160 to 6 metres, 60 metres included. For WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ in Ingham.
From here, there and everywhere, you tune to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, Special Interest Group News with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, first up in worldwide special interest groups this week, it's astronomy and wireless weather. Amateur radio operators will be on the air as W7P from February 14th through to the 22nd to celebrate the 96th anniversary of the discovery of Pluto and to continue the countdown to the 100th anniversary in 2030. This year, the event sponsors are hoping to have a number of visiting operators join the fun. If you're listening or watching this newscast in the area, the Northern Arizona DX Association invites out-of-state ham radio clubs and operators to join them as guest operators for the W7P Pluto Discovery Anniversary Special Event, operating from the very place where Pluto was discovered in 1930, the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona. Visiting hams will need to contact Bob ahead of time to be placed on the schedule. In addition to operations at the observatory, Doug Tombar, N3PDT, nephew of astronomer Clyde Tombar, who discovered Pluto in 1930, will lead a team of operators at W7P/0. Doug said that he especially enjoys making contact with other amateurs who knew his uncle or were involved in other activities related to Pluto. For more information, look up W7P on QRZ.com. For 21 years, millions of volunteers worldwide have used their home PCs to support SETI, SETI, at home, one of the largest citizen science efforts ever conducted. Operated by scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, the project analyzed radio data from the Arecibo Observatory and identified roughly 12 billion signals of interest. After a decade of following up analysis, researchers narrowed those detections to about 1 million candidates and then to 100 signals worthy of further investigation. Since July 2025, those targets have been re-observed using China's 500-meter aperture spherical telescope, or FAST radio telescope, which has 8 times the collecting area of Arecibo. While researchers don't expect these signals to be extraterrestrial in origin, the results helped establish new sensitivity limits for large-scale SETI searches. Scientists say the project's biggest legacy may be the lessons learned about filtering radio frequency interference and designing future all-sky techno-signature surveys. And still gazing skyward, or in this case, just across to Europe, Hungarian physicist Zoltán Bay, who passed in 1992, played a pivotal role in advancing Earth-Moon-Earth, EME, communication through his pioneering experiment conducted on the 6th of February 1946. To commemorate the 80th anniversary of Bay's achievements, the Hungarian Radio Amateur Society is hosting a special radio activity with standout call signs, all prefixes HG80 and special suffixes Bay, Earth, EME, Lunar, Moon and Radar, which are on air until month's end. QSL via LOTW and Club Logs OQRS. Worldwide Special Interest Group News, Summits on the Air, Worldwide Flora and Fauna Program, Parks on the Air, and other adventure groups. For out-and-about adventurers, get set for the 2026 Mills on the Air. This year marks 30 years of the Mills on the Air event. The invitation is extended to amateur radio operators from around the world to take part. It helps to highlight some of the amazing heritage and historical mill sites across the world. Originally started in 1996, the special event is a fun and relaxed event for amateurs of all abilities, all modes and bands. We may not have too many mills here in Australia, but it's worth taking part, and this 2026 event is scheduled for the weekend of the 9th and 10th of May. For further information and to get involved, visit nharg.org.uk/MOTA. Missed the link? It's in our text and video editions of this broadcast. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Final Frontier. Blue Origin successfully completed the 38th flight of its New Shepard suborbital vehicle on January 22nd, marking the program's first mission of 2026. The mission, designated NS-38, launched from Blue Origin's Launch Site 1 in West Texas during a morning launch window. The flight carried 6 people on a brief suborbital journey above the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space. With this flight, New Shepard has now flown 98 people to space. New Shepard is Blue Origin's operational human spaceflight system and serves as a test bed for reusable launch technology and crewed operations. The program continues to support Blue Origin's long-term goals for expanding human access to space. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Radio Amateur Youngtimers, YOTA, Youngsters on the Air, and planted firmly on terra firma, it's over to Alan, VK2COD.
Thank you, Cole. People who are goat people will tell you that goats have courage, resilience, and keep going when they are on a mission. So what do goats have to do with particular ham radio family? 14-year-old Niles Henderson has become the youngest mountain goat in the USA in the Summits on the Air Awards scheme. He did it 1 month after his 16-year-old brother Soren KK7UKE set the same record on a snowy summit this past Christmas Day. Their mother Corinne KK7ULL was the first in the family to ascend to mountain goat heights. She achieved that status this past October after 13 months of steady SOTA activations. With 1,000 points needed to classify a SOTA activator as a mountain goat, that means a total of 3,000 points between Proud Mum and her 2 sons. Corinne's husband, Jason, KC7EPG's work commitments slowed his climb to join his goat family at the top, but he's getting there. With Jason needing only 80 more points, Corinne said, "We'll be our own little Soda Mountain goat herd." For WIA National News, I'm Alan, VK2COD in Sydney.
Thanks very much, Alan. Worldwide Special Interest Groups IOTA, Islands on the Air. 5 operators will be active during the AU7RST expedition to Agati, IOTA number AS011, in the Lakshadweep Islands. The activation is scheduled for the 8th through to the 14th of February. Be listening on 160 through to 6 metres, where they'll be using CW, SSB and FT8. Andre PD1DRE is using the call sign PJ2/PD1DRE from Curacao, IOTA number SA099, until the 4th of March. He's calling QRZ on SSB and FT8 and FT4. And a reminder, OC150 Joseph is active again as YB9/ON6HX from Mataram on Lombok Island, OC150 until the 11th of March. Listen for YB9/ON6HX as he operates CW, SSB, RITI, FT8 and FT4 from OC150. And QSL via LOTW, EQSL or via home call, which again is ON6HX. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Radio Scouting. Joining us is Michelle, VK2AYL.
News from Alara, the Australian Ladies Amateur Radio Association. This year, the 22nd of February is a special date for Girl Guides and Girl Scouts around the world, as it is the centenary of World Thinking Day. This date was chosen back in 1926 as it was the birthday of Olav Baden-Powell, the first world chief guide, and Robert Baden-Powell, the founder of the Scouting movement. It is a time when Girl Guides and Girl Scouts around the world celebrate the global movement, highlighting international friendships and connecting with one another worldwide to celebrate together. To celebrate the event, some Girl Guides and Girl Scout units will be participating in Tidota, Thinking Day on the Air, on the weekend of 21st to 22nd February. If you have a Girl Guide unit nearby, or know a Girl Guide, can I suggest that you offer to demonstrate the worldwide friendships available through amateur radio? This would be a great way to showcase our hobby to the youth of today.
Thanks, Michelle. Next, it's Worldwide Special Interest Groups Rescue Radio. More than 300 amateur radio operators nationwide participated in the Malaysian Emergency Simulation Test, MySet 2026, an exercise designed to test the country's preparedness for a black sky scenario, a situation involving a complete breakdown of communication systems. Malaysian Amateur Radio Transmitters Society, MARTS, Deputy President said a total of 87 injection scenarios were introduced during the exercise to simulate various emergencies. For WIA National News, I'm Cole, VK3GTV.
It's a date, and clubs are welcome to email text with audio for this section, as VK5DJ does this week. And don't forget, details of all WIA affiliated clubs and societies can be found on the WIA website, including email addresses and website links. Check it out. So, on the social scene, VK4 Redfest, Deception Bay North State School, 9 a.m, April 11. WIA AGM, May 2 at 2 p.m, Albury and VK2, couples with the ICOM VK Summit 2026, also in Albury, May 2 and 3. And VK5, the Southeast Radio Group's Convention and Australian Fox Hunting Championship, Mount Gambier.
I'm John, VK5DJ for the Southeast Radio Group. Our convention and Australian Fox Hunting Championship will again be held on the King's Birthday weekend 2026 in Mount Gambier. Fox hunts will begin on Saturday the 6th and continue into Sunday the 7th of June. The convention will be held on the Sunday only. Look forward to that wonderful dinner again. How about putting it in your diary now? Keep an eye on surge.org.au for further information. 73, John.
And also in VK5, Adelaide Amateur Radio and Electronics Car Boot Sale, Dog South Australia Showground, that's in Cromwell Road, Kilbourne. Happens November 21 at 10 a.m. Now, till next we meet, I am Graham, I am VK4BB. Walk softly.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.